Should we have Hudson here? Good. Mr. Peter. I'm glad you're back here. Cheers with our seltzers.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers to you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a great night, actually. Just got a little bit of chill.
It's all right. Spring is coming.
Yeah, it's not too cold. The last few, I was like shivering. It was cold out here.
Not bad.
We got blessed. We got a good night.
There we go. We'll take it. This fire's got us warming up, too.
It does. Well, we're just getting started. We're going to get this heated up. A little bit of back and forth convo.
There we go.
How did we ever get connected?
I think we connected through Trevor West.
It was.
Yep. And Trevor was kind of telling me about you a little bit. And then I don't remember our initial conversation, but I think Trevor connected us. And then we had a phone call. And when I was talking to you on the phone, I was kind of like, I don't really like people to tell me what to do ever. It's probably a downside. Not that you were telling me what to do, but I was like, whoa, like this guy keeps it real. Like, I don't know. And kind of took it to heart maybe a little bit for like the first few weeks. And then I realized that it comes from such a great place. And you've actually really helped me level up in my life. So I really appreciate our connection.
And you have helped me.
Thank
I mean,
you.
the things that you do in the community with the wrestling, just watching you with your kids. Obviously, you're a mortgage broker. You do a good job as that. You're helping me with a few of my clients and doing a good job with it. But you're really a good dude, and your story is much deserving of being on Fireside.
Appreciate it.
I think you said to me, after Trevor had introduced us, you started to watch the Fireside, and you started to say, all right, this guy's really doing something. His heart's in the right place.
Yep.
And you started to ask about it. You're like, what type of money I got to make to be on the Fireside?
Yep.
I was like, it's not about money, man. Yeah. It's going to be about, the right people and the right story. And I always knew I wanted to have you on. And then recently, I tried to get you last week when I had a cancellation.
My son's birthday.
And you had your son's birthday, and you were so pumped that you were able to, that I asked you. And I was like, this guy's so pumped. We got to have him on next week.
I remember sitting there with my family. Everybody's at my house. I talked to Maddie. And I'm like, what time? And it's my son's birthday. I'm like looking at my wife. She saw that, she heard me say Fireside. She knew how interested I was in everything. And then I'm sitting there like eating cake. And I'm just thinking about it. Like, oh man, like I wonder what I've been talking about right now. Like it was just like hanging over my head that whole night. My wife saw it on my face. And then you gave me the call this week. And I was just honored.
Yeah, and we did it on a Friday instead of Wednesday. So it all worked out.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you coming, dude.
Thank you, man.
This is going to be a good one. So, grew up in Howell.
Yep.
You were always into wrestling?
Pretty much. I mean, I started out pretty young. I started when I was 9, which now these kids are starting way younger than that. But I was playing Pop Warner. My friend Zach Cunliffe, still my best friend, my best man at my wedding. He was doing gymnastics and he started wrestling. His brother was on my Pop Warner team. His dad, the owner of the cabin, has a real deep voice, comes up to my dad. You should get Petey on the wrestling mat. And my dad was like, all right. My dad was one of 8. His dad never really went to his games and stuff, so he signed me up for everything. And I definitely had too much energy for soccer and different things like that. So the beautiful thing about wrestling for me back then was that I was really tiny. Yeah. And like when you're super tiny, like you're playing Pop Warner with the younger kids, like basketball wasn't really an option or a thought. Yeah. And it's like wrestling, they got weight classes.
Yep.
So it like welcomes all sizes.
Yeah.
You got the biggest guy in the room, and I was always the smallest guy.
Did you like it right away when you got into it? Or?
I was into the WWF back then. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So you still are.
I'm really not. My son is, but yeah.
Don't lie, dude. I see you on Facebook. You're like, that was Pete playing WWF.
Dude, my son is so into it, so it's definitely on at the house a lot. But my first match, I grabbed the kid's hand and like swung him around and like total WWF move. The ref like blew the whistle. My coach was screaming at me. So to answer your question, I don't think I was really that into it. I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of kept coming back. And then before you knew it, the Howell community, it just started the program that I'm currently the coach of. And back then we had this guy, Rich Famularo, and he just made it something that was great for all of us.
So as you continued to wrestle, and obviously you did, you were doing it in high school. Were you qualifying for states? Were you wrestling with a lot of the big names that were out there at the time?
Yeah, a little bit. I was playing other sports. So I would wrestle in the off season at Sure Thing, but then I was playing football. I was playing lacrosse.
Vinny Santinello, great guy. Another dude
Love
Vinny.
Vinny.
In the community, just pumping good stuff.
I know.
Pumping humility, pumping good kids out of his program. And
I was just listening and watching his videos right before states, and some of the things he was telling the kids, get the next best thing. Get the next best thing. If you're going to go to win and you don't win, what's next?
quick funny about Vinny, as most people know, I'm not shy about it. I was not a great student, so I was removed from the regular school program and put into an alternative program called Pathways. And I had this guy, McKnight, who I'm actually going to have on the Fireside and chop it up with him because he's a character. And Vinny Santanola was his assistant teacher in the classroom. And I remember I spit out the window, and there were these old school huge windows, and this gust of wind came in and put spit all over this kid Sean's face. So I look away. I didn't even think anything of it. Sean blasted me in the side of the face. And before I could even think to pummel this kid or do anything, Vinny had me in this judo move, like, Ryan, just stop, Ryan. Ryan, it's all good. Just let it go, Ryan. Right? Just let it go.
That's awesome.
And he was such a good dude. I was happy when he went off to do the sheriff's thing, and he's a great dude. I haven't seen him a ton, but tell him
His sons are doing great, too.
Yeah, I see they're killing it.
Yeah.
The one, actually, both of them go over to Thrive.
Okay, yeah. I saw
think
that.
they're Thrive athletes.
Yep, I saw that. I saw a picture with his one son and Anthony Ashnault the other day.
So when you looked at a guy like Vinny and what he was doing in the community, was that something that you always aspired to want to do, or?
Kind of. I was always the captain on all these teams. So people were telling me I had these qualities, but I was just kind of focused on whatever we were doing with the team. I wanted everybody to work hard and have good vibes and just kind of doing my own thing. And then the coaching stuff really happened at Johnson & Wales, where I went to college. My coach told us to pay it forward, give back to the sport that gave to you. And that just really resonated with me. And that guy is still a huge part of my life. I still talk to him all the time. He really connected me with so many different people, and he was there for me in down moments,
Yeah.
So that was really where the coaching stuff started.
It's crazy, when people have said it to me, I at times think I'm a bad leader in certain situations, but I'm maybe a leader doing something like this, putting myself out there, being vulnerable, telling my story, pulling stories out of guys like you and others who have maybe fell on hard times for a short period of time, got back up, and are now crushing it.
For sure.
So your story has been amazing, and I love all of it. So I want to go back, though. So you go through high school, you go to Johnson & Wales, you wrestle there. Did you do 4 years at Johnson & Wales?
I did 4 years and I graduated. There was a lot of struggle there, partying a lot. Got a .9 GPA my freshman year. Parents came up, packed up my dorm, went down to academic probation. Pretty much my coach I was just talking about, he pretty much told the woman, this is a good kid, give him another chance. So I wrestled a little bit my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was completely academically uneligible. That was a dark down moment because all my buds were on the wrestling team. We didn't hang out with anybody else.
Yeah.
And it was they were rocking the gear. I was following up. I knew what they were doing, and I wasn't on a team. I wasn't with it. I was still kind of living in the wrestling house and different things with them. But I always remembered that feeling when it was my time, my junior and senior year, and I would kind of keep those down moments in the back of my mind when I started getting tired and wanted to keep working and everything. Didn't really have the wrestling career that I probably could have. Didn't really stay dialed in all off season. I like to party, and then I like to wrestle in the winter. Looking back, if I had another shot, I would be like, oh, wow.
Yeah, more focused.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, wow, no, this has got to be a year-round thing because we got to get ready. But I'm glad I had those struggles because it helps me relate to these kids. Because sometimes the great wrestlers are like, hey, just do it like me. And I could be like, I see your energy. I know exactly how you feel. I was the kid just like you under the bleachers crying. I know what it feels like. It's going to be all right. We got this. Yeah,
and your heart's just there. It's you're totally that empathetic dude that's and your emotional intelligence is actually super high.
Yeah.
I usually, when I meet someone, I'm throwing, like I did with you, we're sitting on a conversation, I'm just throwing haymakers across the phone at you, just seeing how you take it or what you do, because that's helping me. I'm on the offense. That's helped me realize.
Ping pong.
Yeah. I'm flicking you,
Yeah.
And it's helped me realize who you are, but you quickly understood who I was. And, having the ability, I think in Bill Parcells' book, they talk a lot about he was such a special coach because he really knew how to communicate with the person that he was standing in front of.
That's
So one
everything.
guy, he may have to like play into his chip, and that's what would drive him. And the next guy, you try that shit with him, he'll be quitting the team. You know, he talks to him a little bit more of a soft approach. And I see you do that with the kids from afar. And I know you actually coach my nephew, Creedon.
Yeah.
And he loves your program. And
I was so proud of him.
Yeah,
I
he's
was so
going to
proud of
States
him.
too,
He's
right?
going to
Tomorrow
States in
with it?
Trenton this weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. They
So-
had a great moment. Him and his mom had this epic hug. It was so great.
But I could tell, like, the joy and what a
Yeah.
lot of people fail to realize, right? I'm going to go back to keep following your story. But when you're giving your time, right, you may get some type of small salary, but when you're giving your time to your community for a sport, right, and especially a very time-consuming sport like wrestling, it's a lot for you. You're a father. You're a husband. You have a pretty successful little mortgage practice, right? You're trying to make sure that you're helping your clients get into their homes. Now more than ever, a lot of people realize there's an inventory problem, so you got to make sure you have people's approvals ready. You got to make sure those approvals look good.
Yep.
So needless to say, you're pretty spread thin, and you're still finding the time to really give back to your community. And I think that's a special thing about you. And I know it's been
Appreciate that.
it's been hard on you. It's
Definitely has.
very time consuming.
Yeah, it definitely has. You talk family work balance and different things like that, and even like not having wrestling involved and like just the mortgages. I'm just so connected with so many people all day, every day. I think it's good for me. You know, I mean, the wrestling stuff, obviously the season's just about to be over. What I really learned a lot from you business-wise is utilizing your time the best.
Intentional.
You know, and, you know, even just getting organized Sunday nights focused for the week. My Excel spreadsheet, just staying focused and dialed. Like, I'm learning what makes me tick. But one of my true passions is just giving back to these kids and helping these kids. And unfortunately, sometimes I'm leaving my own babies at home, but I find that time back. I don't have to be anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
So my mornings are with the babies. I get my son from school as much as I can. Taking him to Target, getting WWE guys, doing whatever we do together. So definitely stretched thin, but
It's kinda like
I get that quality from my mom. She's the same exact way. And I watch her, and she's in her mid-60s, and I watch her, and I'm like, how? I'm exhausted. I'm 36.
Yeah.
And then I just see her doing it. And my grandma's up in North Jersey. She goes up there all the time. She's with my babies almost every day. I'm just like, how? She's just like, just who I am.
That's what she wants to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So going back, we get out of college. What were you doing then from a career perspective?
When I got out of college, I was right back at the cabin that I was talking about. And
Shout out to the cabin.
shout out to the cabin on
Room
Route 33.
33.
Big Rod sold it, but it's still going strong. And we met so many great people there and put you in real high stress type situations, which looking back are huge. I'm glad I was in those high pressure moments.
You learned so much actually from
Did you ever work in like that field?
I didn't, but I knew a lot of people actually in my world in
Yeah.
finance. They came from the
there.
bartending or the waitressing. Your
Yeah.
ability just to communicate with people,
Yep.
and especially now more than ever with social media, people lack that. A lot of guys are seeing like me be able to do this show, and I literally just from people I know could probably go 2 years and have somebody on the Fireside that I know. But I've met all these people way prior to social media.
Right,
It's just the
exactly.
communication. So seeing those people that come out of the restaurants and the bar, they're always highly effective communicators.
Yeah. No, you really have to be, and everything was happening so quick. But to answer your question, I was at the cabin. Started coaching back then. I think I was like 22 my first season. Ended up going to Walmart and like printing photos. You like printing photos back then, you know. So I'm like printing photos at Walmart. I see my high school coach, and he's like, "Hey, we need a coach." So once I got out of college, it was probably May? You graduate? I started coaching the off-season stuff right away in September once the kids went back to school, and then I was working at the cabin. And before you knew it, I blinked my eye, and years went by, because when you're in that, and then I was always working like the go-getter shifts, like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Closed all those nights, and then I would work Thursday. Then I'd be off Tuesday, Wednesday. Like the whole rest of the world.
You'd
just
party with all the
raging.
bartenders.
Yeah, party with all the bartenders, exactly. You know, going to different happy hours and different things. And then I spent a decent amount of time. So yeah, I was at the cabin. And then I was also at Tom's Tavern, which is like a dive bar in Farmingdale. I don't know if you've probably driven past it and you have no idea. And that was the same type of thing. It was like a lot going on in there. It was a wild place, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. But not a lot of personal ambition back then.
Yeah.
Because you're just looking
From your own
forward to
self.
like the cash. Yeah. It was like...
Well, you get caught up in that cash game.
You
Because it's
do.
still a lot of cash to make as a young kid.
For sure. But the cash goes quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get nothing to show for any of it.
Yeah.
You know. And then I was at Karma in Seaside. I was working down there. That's how I know Chach.
Yeah.
So I was down there for a while. So I was in the bar restaurant industry pretty much my whole life. My mom made me start working at Six Flags Photo when I was 14. And then I was at the Cabin busting tables in like 01. I was probably like a sophomore. So I knew that. I knew that field. This whole mortgage stuff I didn't even know what that was.
When did the mortgage thing happen for you?
The mortgage thing happened through a guy, Bob Walsh, who, God rest his soul, but that man, he did a lot for me.
And was that a time when you kind of, we didn't dive into it, was that the time you were struggling with partying a little too hard? He kind of was sucked you in?
He did. So I'll backtrack slightly on meeting Bob. I knew he was the mayor of Howell at the time. Or anyway, he had been mayor and like, just like whatever. Like they were coming to my tables and I didn't really know him, but I knew his son who had autism and he would come in all the time. And I knew what they wanted. So like I had their nachos ready, their Sprite, whatever it was, boom, 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 pizza. Sean and I connected. So Sean was how I met Bob. Bob was just like a great guy, but like your typical like loud, obnoxious, hey, I'm here. And I would just kind of never really talk to him much because my focus was kind of Sean, really. And then Bob and I got into to kind of talking. And I still didn't really know him. And then he goes, hey, why don't you get into this mortgage thing? You know, I got my company. I got my own company. I think you do great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in, dude. I got an apron on, non-slip shoes, a towel.
Yeah,
like,
I'm done with this.
Whatever it is. Like, yeah, let me take this stuff off. Like, I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what brought me into the industry.
How old were you?
I was probably like mid-20s when he brought me into the industry. And at that point, I had to study for the test, and I had to pass the test. And tests were never easy for me. School was never easy for me. This is a language I've never learned before. I didn't even actually know that a mortgage was like a bank loan on the house. Like, I didn't really know.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, like I didn't buy a house. Like
most people don't really know what a mortgage is. They know they have a mortgage. They don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So then I really, really struggled because I was bartending. I was partying hard. I was going to the mortgage stuff during the day, bartending at night, partying hard. And that time just went by there, and failed the test multiple times.
Before we get into the partying and stuff, I want to talk about your struggle. So you say you struggle with testing. What was it that you struggled with exactly?
Probably a few things. Not precisely studying, taking practice tests constantly, but not really pulling back and absorbing everything that was in there. The timeline of when all these things come. I was trying to memorize.
Was it because of your ADHD or?
Yeah, I mean, I never got reps in school. I mean, maybe when I was in college, by the very end, I was finally like, okay, so if I do the work, I study, I show up on time, like I should either get like an A or a B.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
At that point, like I should be all right. But I never did that.
Yeah.
I just never did that.
Goggins talks about that, you know, how he had to work a little bit harder at studying. He didn't retain it as quick. You know, the repetition on studying and things of that nature.
And just kind of knowing personally what makes you click. And then...
So you're giving a young kid, let's say a guy right now, he's struggling in high school or even college and he wants to get that degree. You know, what type of advice or what nugget, right? I want to grab nuggets out of it, would you give to that guy that maybe has a similar personality to you and I?
I would really say just continue to get these reps in and figure out what works for you. Some people are going to say index cards. With the index card, I knew that the answer was on the back and the question was on the front. Before you knew it, I didn't even have to look at it. I turned around and I had it memorized. But it was not something that I could dive into this question now and be able to think back to actually what the answer is. I was thinking, all right, You know, is it?
But on
is
the
it this
test, it
long,
doesn't go that
long?
way.
I
And the
know.
test, it isn't that way.
And the other big struggle was everything that they were teaching me on the day-to-day, and they really put me right into things. I mean, I was sitting with people with Bob that were significantly older than me. I'm sure you kind of went through some of that stuff in the beginning with you, where like
absolutely.
you're sitting at these people's dining room tables, and it was like, I knew what the process was by now. I knew what the underwriters were saying. I knew about the appraisals, inspections, all this other stuff. And when they ask you on the test, I'm like, no, the bank would approve that.
Yeah,
like,
well, the test
so
is always
I'm circling.
different.
Yeah, I'm circling what I know would get through and like close a loan, and my answer was wrong.
Yep.
So it was like I had to.
Well, that's why they want you, a lot of times, like in our world, like you're going to take your Series 6 or 65, any of these tests, they want you to go do all that stuff before you get in the industry, because what you're doing over here
Right.
and the tests are completely different.
Exactly.
Which, that's a whole other
No, I know.
conversation.
But it's a great point, because that's exactly how I was feeling. I thought I was asking a lot of questions. You know, I was in it during the day, which was a lot of fun for me, because I was used to the whole restaurant thing, and it was new and exciting.
Yeah.
And so I was like really trying to work at it. And then the studying stuff, I just couldn't get both of them
you
going
couldn't get it to
together.
click.
But I'm glad though, because maybe if I passed on the first try and it came real easy to me, maybe when I started getting struggles in the actual industry, maybe I would have buckled then.
Yeah,
So-
it's all learning lessons.
Yeah, so it was like all that failure. Now when I was in like these really high pressure, high stress buying a house situation, I wasn't even thinking about cracking. I was just thinking about like, okay, where's our solution? How do we get past this? What do we do? So I'm glad my journey had that in it.
I think there was other parts of your journey that have built you for that war.
For sure.
And that's something I want to talk to you about. You know, everybody has different struggles throughout their life. You know, you were in the restaurant industry. It is so easy to get sucked into that world, man.
God, yeah.
It's so easy to just, crack a beer every day after work, and on your days off, now your friends, they work the same schedule you do, so they're off Mondays
Yep.
and Tuesdays with you, so you're going out, and most of the time you're going to be drinking and partying. You kind of ran into a snag. You were probably partying a little too hard and maybe
Yeah.
drinking a little bit too much. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say it's March, so being Irish, I don't think helps the case at
Yeah,
all.
no.
But then I got family members that don't party. My mom doesn't really drink at all. So me personally, I go hard
Yeah,
in everything.
yeah.
So when wrestling was over, okay, so pretty much my drinking didn't really start until I was about 17, 18 years old. Some of the other kids that started a little bit younger, they kind of already knew kind of like the ropes by then, and they knew like when to pull back. You would think.
Yeah.
For me, it was like because I was playing sports all the time and I didn't want to get in trouble, and like, so I just wasn't around it. Once I was around it, it was like straight up funneling wiffle ball bats full of beer.
Yeah.
So it was just like binge drinking was
Who
like
didn't funnel
all
a
I
wiffle
knew.
ball bat?
Yeah, no, it was great, and like had so many great memories. But so really, my drinking career, you can call it, short-lived, but it was going hard.
Yeah. It's distracting you from
So-
your real goals.
Oh, distracted me from everything. Everything. And if anything, it was such a vicious cycle for me, because I knew there was more in me. And I knew I probably shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And I knew that people were probably disappointed in me. But that wasn't really enough.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of chasing it and just chasing the buzz. And people are like, damn, you drink so fast. And I'm just like, Miller Lights. But then really, it started really getting, we'll call it, out of control when I was like bartending. Because you're just around it,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
just
just
there.
become so norm. And it's like when things aren't really going great in your life in your mid-20s, late 20s, like I'm
get
young, you know what I mean? Like you got like every excuse in the world, and the people you're around. So it was tough. It was bad. There was a lot of bad.
Where was the turning point for you where you said, "All right, I'm done with this.
Well, that's
I'm
what I
going
was
to
going to
chase down
say.
other things."
Once my son was born, I did a shot in the parking lot with my friend. I was still kind of drinking and partying. And then I had some really, really scary moments with my health. And my son was 2 months old. And my really good friend, Zach, that I was telling you about, him and a few of my buddies, they called me on like a group call. And they're like, hey, man, we think like probably cut.
Time for you to
slow
it down.
Like, you had a good run. And I was just like, you guys are right. You guys are right. Like, I got this kid. Like, I can't pass the mortgage test. Like, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
My life sucks.
I need to get it together.
Like, I got to figure something out, man, because whatever I'm doing right now is not going to be conducive to any type of success. So my son made it super easy for me. And then what I realized was that I didn't need the alcohol. I needed just like an escape or time to myself or something to look forward to. So when I was telling you I was working the weekends. I was working the weekends at the bar. During the week, I was with the mortgage company. Once I was done there, right to the bar. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right. So then it was like stop drinking was day one, May 15th, 2015. And so that was my day one. And I had a long Sector 9 skateboard. I was living in Belmar. And I would get home from work, hop on the board, and just go cruise for like an hour.
Just chilled your mind.
Yeah, I would have been at the bar if I wasn't on the board, and I would have just been sitting there slugging some beers, come home with the family. It was just like part of my
It's just
part
a
of my
pattern
routine.
you get into.
It is.
I just did the 75 hard. I didn't fully finish it, but even just going 50, 60 days without alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm not saying I have a problem, but a lot of people in the United States, it's just so part of your routine. You don't realize how much you're actually drinking until you take a month or 2 or 3 months off, and you're like, wow, like I probably would have had a drink there. I probably would have had a couple here.
Yeah.
And for me, I was trying to lose some weight, so I'm like, those are all extra calories.
Exactly.
It's just, you just get into that habit. It's just like any habit. But the thing with alcohol is it could, destroy your life.
It really can. It really can. And sometimes I'll talk to people and say like, yeah, I could probably have a beer right now. Like I might be able to have a beer.
That's a seltzer, by the way.
I know, but like, but if I did, that's such a big risk for me.
Yeah,
because I have so much good right now, and I can see the good. And if I put the beer goggles back on, man, I don't know where things would take me. So it's been a great journey for me. I'm so proud that I was able to do that. Other people make me feel proud because they're like, how did you do that? Like I'm always drinking at the parties.
And you don't seem like you really even like care to have one at all.
I don't. But what I want to say was in the beginning, so that was May 15th. We had a wedding like 2 weeks later. So I show up at the wedding. Everybody's looking for Party Pete to hit the dance floor and do toe touches and stuff. And I was like crushing shrimp cocktail, not knowing what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
And my dancing, like I'm just chilling right now. So it was like people were coming up to me, asking me to do shots, So I had to figure that all out on my own, and that gets a little lonely. But I'm glad too because everybody else is just. It gets to a point where the whole wedding just shifts. Everybody at your table is just on the demise, and then you don't
realize it until you're sober. You're like, oh shit, I was way worse than those people.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and then I'm sitting there like, oh man, I was way worse than this guy that I'm judging right now.
Yeah. All right, so hopping back in, so. You persevered, you pushed through a little bit of too much partying, had your first son, and you haven't looked back, and you're killing it, and you have a beautiful family, you have an amazing wife, Abby. I have not met her in person, but I do watch you guys on social media, and she seems to definitely be the partner for you.
Definitely, she's been my cheerleader, my supporter. The other half of our team making this happen at home with these 3 kids.
Dude, Kelly does it for me. She's been my biggest cheerleader, and I don't get mad at some people. Maybe when I first met my wife, that were like, I don't know about that guy,
Yeah,
pretty hot-headed.
Earned it.
Yeah, I definitely probably earned it. But when you have a woman like that's by your side, dude, you could do anything. So I see that in what you guys have. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, man.
So I want to jump into a little bit more of the business. I want to give people your background and your story and your journey. I want to talk about your mindset, right? And I think that maybe comes from wrestling a little bit. I think it also probably comes from just kind of who you are, right? You're sitting there right now. You're ready to go. You're ready to double leg somebody, right? you just have that go button, right? And that's probably what that guy recognized in you as a young kid that told your father you need to go wrestle.
Yeah.
How do you approach business now? How do you approach the mindset of business and sales?
That's a great question. I know that things are not always going to come easy. I know that there's going to be rejection. I know that there is going to be failure, and it's not perfect. So I just have this approach of just keep going. Like we were talking about earlier with wrestling, like the next best thing. So really just, there's plenty to go around. But if you're not putting yourself out there and you're not letting people know what you do, then maybe there's not going to be as much of a piece for you, but there's more than enough for everybody. And especially when it comes to, sales for anything for that matter, but especially with these houses, man, people are always buying houses. So rates went up, okay, people are still buying houses. Rates went down, people are buying houses. Prices are up, people are buying. Prices are down, people are buying. So my approach has really been day one to just be myself and not compare myself to any of these other mortgage guys that are doing great out there, because if anything, that just creates some anxiety for me to try to, live up to what somebody else is doing. So my approach has
like a target you got to go chase down.
Yeah, but my approach has really just been to really care about more than just making money. Like the making money thing, like it'll come over time, but like in the moment, like you may have situations where, things are tough. You might have a loan that's super low, but it's fine. Like I'm not going to treat some guy getting $1 million house any differently than I'm treating the guy getting a $100,000 house. Mm-hmm. So I just stick to what I do. I'm probably honest to a fault. I probably lose some business that maybe from a financial aspect, I could probably figure out a way to say, yeah, you should do this, but I don't. And,
I think I told you no at becoming a client for like at least 6-8 months.
Yeah, you did. And all I was trying to do there was just create an opportunity for you.
Yeah, no.
And that was my approach. And I knew that you were going to be able to help me anyway. So that's why I was like, yeah, just let's do it. Whatever you want to do. And you're like, all right, let's kind of talk things out first.
I think I pointed you back to your guy.
Yeah, you did. You actually did, which is commendable. And I have similar conversations sometimes as well.
Yeah, I see you. I see you doing that.
Yeah.
I know how you think and what makes you tick. And that is a big piece that I think a lot of people lack in business. And myself, I'm not going to sit here and try to be a bullshitter. Listen, everything that you want to do on social media or everything that you're trying to do in your community, yeah, you're going out there and you're wanting to do it for the better good, because at least I'm doing it, right? You could say I'm just doing it for an agenda. And I think Jamie said this about Tony Hawk building skate parks, right? He's like, well, he's building skate parks because the motherfucker sells skateboards. Well, yeah, but hey, he's still building skate parks.
Truth.
So to like go do these things in your community and give back is really what's going to help you build your business.
Exactly.
Like niche down in your community. Fireside has been a blessing to me, and it is a lateral marketing strategy. Guess what? I work with business owners. Right. That's what I do for a living. I help them with some form of, I'm not allowed to say it, business. Right? And I think you exude that. You are all about your community. You're all about how you have the wrestling club, Reilly Wrestling Club, that you do on Sundays for kids. Quickly, talk a little bit about that.
So that was a COVID type thing. I hate to even talk about COVID. I don't even want to hear
COVID?
it anymore.
Where's
but
Fauci?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That was a disappearing act. That's what happened to the flu too. But anyway, that's besides the point. But so COVID happened. My son's virtual learning. You want to talk about work and virtual learning? Like, dude, I was breaking. But my wife was home on maternity leave and everything, so we got through it. But the COVID, like, he was in kindergarten. So is he 6 years old? I guess 5. He turned 6 in March. And I'm like, dude, we got to do something, man. Like, we've been home. Like, we haven't even been outside. Like, we got to figure something out, dude. Like, this ain't for us. We got too much energy for this staying inside stuff. So I coach a family in Howell.
Pulling your hair out.
Drive. Oh my gosh, dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. I have like a wrestling dojo at the time at my house in a 3-season room with my desk and my laptop on top of a wrestling mat. I was doing Zoom workouts with the high school kids, the Lean Mean Quarantine. We did that for 60 days, just working out from home. We got to do something.
Yeah, I get it.
So we end up going to this pole barn on Casino Drive.
See, time out real quick. Where do you come up with that initiative? Is it something that like, hey, I'm recognizing that these kids are in a bad place because I hate this place.
Yeah.
I knew what it was to be a kid their age.
Yeah.
And do you just come up with this? And I did see you doing burpees and your push-ups and all the crazy shit
that
you
fun,
were doing.
Man. I actually wish I was still doing that. I felt so good. For me, selfishly, I wasn't looking at it from a selfish matter, but now that we're past it, that was great for me. 4 o'clock every day from 4 to 5, 60 days straight. If I didn't get on, the kids weren't working out. So I had to lead by, you were talking about being a leader earlier. The leader doesn't really have to be the guy yelling and screaming, making people feel bad. Being a leader is all about bringing people up around you.
Yeah, you just got to get out there and do it.
And so I know that these kids were bored. They're sitting there on they're literally in bed all day instead of school. Like school wasn't fun for us, but like at least we had to get up and go somewhere. So like I can't even imagine the kind of mental. Then like when you're a teenager, there's a lot going through your mind. You don't know what the hell's going on. You know what I mean?
But that's just great initiative. Again, like you're an assistant high school coach, right? You don't have to go do this for these kids.
Didn't have to do it. But then I got shirts made, and we were taking pictures. We started putting it on social media. Like we all just loved it. We were going hard too. These workouts were rough.
Yeah, I was watching.
To the point that I opened it up to some of the younger guys, and I probably shouldn't have, because it was just too much. But the kids loved it. They loved it. We're putting music on. They knew what the workout was. And so I had a group text going with them. I put the workout in, and then we knew we all had the link to Zoom. I didn't even know what Zoom was back then, like prior to that. Like,
best thing ever invented.
Yeah. So that was really, really cool. But
back to the wrestling.
The wrestling club came. Thank you. I was heading back there.
Yeah.
You didn't think I was.
Well, I didn't know where it was going.
I know, it could go anywhere. So we go to this wrestling barn. Great family in Howell. My son goes there, my friend Zach. I haven't really talked to Zach prior to this for a while. I got kids, he's got kids. He's down in Manahawkin.
Busy.
But he's my best friend, like I was telling you. Kind of lost touch. He starts showing up every week. Another guy starts showing up every week. We just stay consistent. Sundays. Christmas fell on a Sunday. We're in the barn. There were a few summer holidays. Didn't matter. Sunday, we were there. We didn't miss a Sunday. It's been almost a year and a half. Anytime I have to miss, Zach comes through. But now we have like 30 kids. And we have like all these great parents that are just connecting behind the scenes, creating like business relationships for themselves, whatever, just
friendship.
Even just for a parent, give somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
I was getting a little bit rattled by the parent sounds in the beginning, but now it's just part of what happens in there, and it's so special. And
you do it every Sunday, what, 10 a.m.?
So we go every Sunday, 10:15. Shout out Impact MMA, Eddie Lopez. Those guys have been absolutely great to me.
We were in a barn. Let's get Eddie and his crew on.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Eddie is also affiliated with DJs. Lonnie Narson is another guy over there. They have a DJ company together. They do great there. Eddie's also taking trees down these days. So he's got that same energy we do to look to create. And
so you guys started using his place?
Yeah, so we've pretty much we've been using his place. We had a talk today with about like 5 of us, the parents and all my friends that are a part of this. And dude, it's so special because these are kids I call them kids. These are guys that I was wrestling with when I was a kid. And now our kids are buddies. And they're out there wrestling each other. And like, I just take deep breaths while I'm there, man. I'm like, I am just so grateful for this.
And let's talk about what you do, because I told you, I had said it to my wife, and my son's a little young, right? He's 2.5 years old. He'll be 3 in August. But he's a little bruiser, as you can tell here in the beginning.
You beat me up earlier.
You instigated me, through you a couple hooks.
That was awesome.
So, talk a little bit about what the program does with some of the younger kids, right? Some parents may be nervous of, the wrestling and their kid getting hurt or breaking an arm.
Yeah.
Talk about what you guys do there.
Well, now that we're about a year and a half in, we have laid the foundation based on what we kind of just associating wrestling with being fun. It's a long game. And you know, they say it's a poor man's sport in the sense of like there is no pros.
Yeah.
You know, Evan wrestled, he knows. And it's like maybe you wrestle till you're 22, or maybe you're like one of these really small percentage of guys that's actually competing for the United States and you're probably in your 30s. Mm-hmm. At that point, your competitive career is over. This is a long game. It needs to be fun. The kids have to love it for themselves, or they're not going to do it long term. They're going to quit. They're going to burn out.
Now, would you say
things aren't going to work out?
Would you say that's a concept that you and your friends kind of discovered through maybe hating some of the ways that you were brought up and coached?
That's a great question, because we're always having these conversations. Sometimes I feel like the parents need more coaching than the kids. Yeah, okay, so that's my point. So yeah. I'm having these conversations with guys who have wrestled themselves. Everyone has a slightly different philosophy and approach on, and it's going to be based on the kid. Some kid, but you've told me, grinding turns to dust. Mm-hmm. Your kid's 13 years old.
You got to shape him. You got to form him.
He needs rest days. He needs a life. He needs to love wrestling, so he goes to the club, goes to the weight room, goes for a run.
Do you think all that,
gets his diet,
all that training at a young age, stunts growth?
You and I have talked about this before. I think I would be 5'7" anyway. I only was cutting weight for a little bit, and it was more like a night before, day before type thing. It wasn't like sustaining it throughout the whole season. I truly feel that you can stunt a child's growth from not putting nutrients, water, rest
at the most
in their
crucial
body.
time. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And
I
I wasn't paying attention in class, but I know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but just logically thinking, yeah, I mean.
Especially in some of those teenage years that, like, me and you were talking how when we were teenagers, like just grubbing.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, just like whatever was around.
Mayonnaise
So like, and now you're taking that away, and you're expecting them to grow. But our foundation really came.
It's fun.
It came fun from me, because I quit wrestling when I was a junior in high school. I hated wrestling. I went so hard from my sophomore year into my junior year, and I wasn't really in the right setting, and I had a leader that didn't know what made me tick. Mm-hmm. And the way he approached others, he almost came at me like from a sense of, do this, do that, and we would kind of go back and forth together, and things got dark and rough. And the night before, like the first tournament of the year, I mean, I was coming home crying like every day, and my dad was just like, "You don't have to do this." And I was like, "All right, like I'm done. Like F wrestling. Mm-hmm. I hate wrestling. Wrestling sucks." Mm-hmm. And then I like instantly regretted it. I'm like reading, and back then there was no social media, so I'm like reading the newspaper, and I'm like, "Oh, I beat that kid. He's ranked there." Like I knew all the rankings, following all the matches. Like I'm just like, what did I just do? But I was like, I ain't coming back. I ain't coming back, bro. And I played football.
Stubborn.
Yeah, I played football, and the coach was like, we start practice tomorrow, dude. Like you're a senior. Like you sure you don't want to wrestle? I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wrestle, but I'm not cutting any weight, because I was cutting a lot of weight right before I quit. So I wrestled 145, and that was what I weighed, 145. So my approach to coaching is like, this is joyful, this is fun. It's a grind, but if it's fun and you enjoy the small moments about it, and you could find anything throughout the practice that keeps you coming back and keeping you loving this sport that is so difficult, and you're going to have so much failure. Like I saw Santinello's kid. Took second in the state of New Jersey, junior years. Third time in the finals. Took second, first, second. He's got one more year. Kid was devastated, man. Devastated. And
because you worked so hard.
Yeah, you worked so hard at it. Crushed. So that's a kid who's like at the very top, and he's going to Oklahoma on a full ride. And he just lost right there. You know what I mean? So like
you're gonna take L's.
These kids you're gonna take L's, guys. Mm-hmm. That's why I tell the parents the other side of struggle is success. Mm-hmm. And that's wrestling, that's business, that's life, that's anything we're doing. If shit's coming too easy, it's time to level up.
So how much does something like that cost? So if someone wants to bring their kid over there, over in Wall,
what's
the monthly subscription.
There's other clubs out there that are absolutely earning their premium. My program as of right now is literally just like little guys. But now as we grow and expand, like we still have the same $50.
Yeah.
And some of the other guys that are watching, that are in the club scene, like I'm not trying to reduce what you guys are making. You guys earned your premium, but for me,
I'm
this
not there
is where
yet.
we were. And I started with everybody, and I said, listen, I got a job. Like this is not a job. This is us connecting our kids, and
Passion
this is
project.
us giving, straight up passion project. But as we continue to grow, the ideas and the possibilities continue to grow. So we had a really good conversation, kind of got everything laid out, the possibilities, opening up another day, maybe 2 other days in the week, open up to middle school kids, high school kids. And then the possibilities, you know how I get.
The creative brain
starts going everywhere. And then I'm like, all right, I got to pull back. What do I need to focus on now? So just trying to get things focused and see what kind of like the next step to our growth.
That's awesome.
To answer your question, we really, I wasn't even really charging for a long time. And everyone was kind of like, we're going to pay you.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you. And then I was pretty much taking everything that I got and giving it right to Impact. Now, as we continue to grow, we're just trying to figure out what the next move is. But like I said, our foundation is so pure and so special, and you can't bottle it up and sell it for any value. And no money that they could ever give me would ever.
I'll make a prediction right here. That overtakes your mortgage business, and you're forced to make a really hard decision to continue doing mortgages in the future or just fully run with this wrestling club. Just a prediction of mine.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation, because people talk about if you do something that you love, you feel like you're never working at all. But I don't necessarily know how true that is, because I think you got to embrace some suck to be able to create
somewhere
for your future, have wealth, you know, be financially stable for your family and your future. And
maybe
all that
if
other
you
stuff.
did it full time, you wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Maybe not. And that would suck.
Yeah.
You know?
You said it has to suck.
Yeah, that really would. Yeah, that would be like, oh man, that was another poor choice I made in my lifetime. But
let's get back to the mortgages a little bit.
Yeah,
and we're kind of twisting and turning. It's how both of our minds work. So I've observed you, and that's something I do with people. I bring them into my world and say, hey, you know, how can I help this person out? How can I give to them first? And yeah, of course, I'm always looking for, in my world, additional relationships and referrals too. And you're always on the go. You're always on the run, and you're doing it even from your own house some mornings, right? You're on the call. You and I call every day or every other day now. You're in my rotation now of 15, 20 business owners that I talk to.
I'm glad I'm in that rotation.
And sometimes it's quick, like, Pete, just fucking get after it today, dude. All right, and you're laughing on the other end. And I know you're on the phone with Trevor. You're on the phone with, obviously, all your customers that you're constantly trying to provide the highest level of service work. You're on the phone, I'm sure, with the other people who work in your office. You know, we talked about abundance. We talked about making sure your mindset is right. Talk about what you think is most important as a mortgage rep and as somebody in sales. Give the people some nuggets.
That's another great question. As far as I have never pictured myself up until kind of recently being in sales. I have the approach of customer service. I think it was from the restaurant. Like, okay, what do they need? Food in the next 45 minutes, whatever it may be. So I was kind of handling my transactions that way. How can I help you? How can I serve? What can I do? A few steps ahead of them. And then now I have a lot more time on my hands because I have this great system and great process behind me, which has allowed me to now do some more creative, unique things that I was kind of bogged down with in years past.
What are some of those unique things that you're doing now that you weren't?
Just like a quick short video just to explain the docs that are about to get signed. I was realizing that there's a lot of questions. And just like I had no idea, these people have no idea too. First-time home buyers, you know, what is this, what is that? So do a quick video with a screen share for exactly what they're looking at. This is this is that, this is your rate. if you wanted to pay for your rate, if the rate was lower, these are the title costs. These are some. This is your insurance costs.
So educational
costs
videos.
associated. And just real quick, let them know. And hey, if you have any questions, hit me up. Okay, Pete, I just signed. Thank you so much. Where prior to that, I knew it was coming. I knew the calls were coming. So I started to foresee what a lot of these questions were, and now I kind of put them out there right away.
Now,
and
are those
hey,
BombBomb videos that you're sending via email?
Yes.
Or they're BombBomb videos?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a really powerful tool that people don't realize, because all of a sudden you're on the other end, and for you small business owners that sleep on digital marketing and social media, BombBomb, all of a sudden I pop up on the screen like, hey, what's up? You got my app for me?
Yep.
Where's my app?
Yep.
Where's my check?
And now you're there.
Right? And now I'm in the room with them, and they're kind of like, this is creepy, but it's also really connecting with those people.
It's really connecting. So much of my work was text message. It still is. Yeah. Like, there was a time people were talking on the phone. I'm on the phone all the time.
Of course.
But the texts are relentless. But things get lost in translation in the text.
Yeah.
I could, like the baby could be on my lap or something, and it's like, what's my closing cost? $4,500.
Yeah.
And it's just like, send.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, these are the costs. You have any questions, let me know. This is where they're coming from. It's all laid out right here. Boom. And I actually got that from Brokers Are Better, which is a Facebook page that I'm a part of with all brokers across the country. And I used to think that it was a very cutthroat industry, and I'm realizing that there's like a lot of good people in it that are sharing their knowledge with others. So I've learned so much from so many other people
and a lot of
amongst the industry.
A lot of the people in the mortgage industry, similar to mine, is they're very entrepreneurial. So they don't just do mortgages. These people own real estate. These people own other businesses.
Yeah.
Or they're into the franchises. So you're getting a lot of good knowledge when you're able to get in a room of like-minded people.
For sure.
In your industry.
Absolutely.
I saw you doing a lot with social media as of late. What's kind of inspired that?
Gary V probably is the #1 component.
That's your guy?
I'm all about positivity. Mm-hmm. They were calling me Positive Pete. I think now that there's these comedians making fun of him, I can't take him as serious. Yeah. But like, this one lady's like 80 years old. The lady's like 80 years old. He's like, you're fucking young. Like, you got so much life to live. And it's like, all right, dude, relax with that. But Gary V, conversation I've had with Trevor and some different people, like, hey man, I got to put myself out there. And there's not really much reciprocal gain in the mortgage industry. Like, the things aren't really like tangible. It's not like, oh, hey, I saw your video, can you get me pre-approved right now? Or I just got this house because I saw your video. Mm-hmm. But just kind of putting it out there, putting my unique touch on things. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback from it.
I think it helps you more than you realize with getting those leads. It doesn't maybe directly come that way and say, hey, I just saw your video.
Yeah.
But it taps someone else that was already kind of thinking of using you.
Yeah. And
they started to like the video. So it's doing more for you than you realize.
For sure. And I'm going to keep it up. I think it's really cool. And some of these guys, I mean, even you, like, you're just like in my face, even if like I'm not on the phone with you. Whether, it's just one of your stories or something, like, that's where the people are.
Yeah, you want to stay in
I spoke to a guy about maybe doing like a magazine type thing, and I was just like, why?
Nah.
Like, who's reading that?
I know the magazine guys won't like to hear this that maybe pay attention if they do, but that game's just old. A lot of those magazines, at least the smaller ones, they've moved towards the social media stuff as well. So it's kind of like a digital copy, and you're still getting the copy sent out to the homes. But social media, Sean Whalen, I'm a part of his group. Shout out to Sean. He went on this rant one day on the coaching forum, and he was like, you think social media is stupid? You're an idiot. He goes, you think social media doesn't work? You're an idiot. He goes, when you're not doing video, your competition's doing video. Every time your competition does video and you're not doing it, they're getting better than you. They're gaining, the gap is getting wider. And I know when I started doing it in my world, I had a lot of hurdles to get through because of compliance. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And, my partners and talking to the home office compliance, because think about it, in my world, you're talking about finances. They don't want something general to go out there that someone may go utilize, and then that may not be great advice for them, which I understand. But I'm also dealing with a 65-year-old lady in, compliance that doesn't even know what social media is. she knows that she can log onto her Facebook pretty much and see her grandkids, which is
Right.
special, right? That's something special about
sure.
it. But you don't even know. Like COVID hit, I'm like, gloves are off, dude. Like, I'm going. Like, I have a family to feed. When COVID hit, my son was 3-4 months old.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe 6 months old.
Isn't that all the motivation you need for success? To see
Dude,
that little face?
every day, that's
know.
my purpose. And sometimes I put too much pressure on myself to do it.
Truth.
Because I want to provide them with a lifestyle that I wasn't able to have. Did I eat every time? Obviously I did. I was a fat boy. you know, did I have a home and a roof to live over? Yes. Was it the best home? You know, maybe not, right? I always look to see, oh, that guy's got a nicer house, or this
Yeah.
guy's got a different vacation. That's human behavior.
Right.
Right? But I wanted more for my family. I wanted more for my wife, who's been, again, my rock and by my side. So I totally get it, man.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
totally get it, you know.
And it's a great way to you know, get in front of a lot of people that maybe don't know you, and like you could
Tell your story.
you could
Tell
share
your story.
the downside of social media. You kind of said something that made me thinking about like comparing yourselves to other people and stuff. Like that's the stuff that I don't really
Yeah,
like.
social media is bad for that if you're
Yeah.
not in the right headspace.
If you're not.
Yeah,
And
especially
there's been
for a young
times-
person.
Yeah, there's been times that I've seen some of my peers in the mortgage industry and like some of their numbers, and I'm just like, oh, I suck.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? But then I'm like, but I'm better than I was a few years ago, and I'm better than when I started, and like I'm excited for what's ahead of me. But it's just that even if it was a vehicle or something, like I'm not really into vehicles and different things, but there were some times I would see these other guys, and I'm like, shucks.
I mean, if anything, it's motivation for me to go get them
Yeah.
and run them down, especially if they're bad guys.
Yeah, true.
If you're a bad guy, I'm going to run you down, and I'll find a way to
I love it.
to edge you out. But I think it's a great vehicle, especially utilized, you know, properly.
Absolutely.
So, kind of rounding this out, I really like to ask a couple questions. I asked you a few, and you've had some great nuggets. Your energy is contagious. You are a great leader. I think I could continue to try to learn to be a better leader. So, I know you got a ton of wisdom in you. We could probably go for 2 hours. But I want you to give, what's one thing you would tell either a young athlete that was looking to go into the finance space or mortgage space or sales in general? What's one thing you would have him kind of just keep on his brain, in his subconscious, entering into that type of market?
It would probably bring me right back to where we were earlier talking about wrestling and failure. Like, go embrace the suck. Go put yourself in a situation that is outside of your comfort zone. Go put yourself in front of people. Go get some no's. Actively have people tell you no. And the more no's you get, that means that you were just asking people, and there's only a matter of time before that yes comes. And I remember taking it to heart when people would get mortgages from other people and not me when I was new to the industry. But I'm like, why would they?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a value was I bringing? I didn't know anything. I didn't have any transactions under my belt. Like, so just don't be afraid to really put yourself out there.
Yeah, Chris Drake told me that, a mentor of mine that I still talk to, and we actually transact business together nowadays, which is so cool.
That's awesome.
But he used to tell me all the time, no's are great.
Yeah.
That means you're asking.
Yeah, no.
No's are a great thing to get.
Exactly.
So I love that. Another thing, we talked a little bit about Impact MMA, where you're hosting your Sunday Reilly Wrestling. What's another business or two that you want to give a shout out that can come on the Fireside in the future, and just a great other local business owner that you, your family, and friends enjoy?
There's a few guys that come to mind. I was just at Certified Auto Mall on Route 9 in Howell. They do towing, they do vehicle sales, and they have a service department. Family-owned business. Connected with him through the wrestling club. Never knew him. He's been like one of my best connections. I met him about 1.5 years ago. Billy Stanton, great guy. Now my friend Zach is now over there. Great place. Talking Heads Barbershop. My friend John Hawksby. He's got a great story.
Where's he at?
He's in Asbury.
Asbury.
He's been an entrepreneurial mind since he's younger. Had some struggles, overcame them. Now he just bought the building 2 blocks down from a shop he was renting, and now he's got this beautiful place, beautiful business going. Oh man, I feel like probably those 2 guys were the first ones that came to my head. I'm sure I'm leaving some people out. I mean, even Oleg. Oleg owns Dynasty Mortgage, so I gotta shout him out.
Yeah.
He allowed me to spread my wings.
Yeah.
I was on a fixed W-2 before I met him.
Yeah. And Dynasty is where you're at today, right?
Yeah, Dynasty Mortgage Network. It's in Brielle. And Oleg was another guy. I met him through coaching his kid. He's got a wrestling mat in his basement. And the story goes even further back to the cabin with him. But of course, I got to shout him out, man. I mean, between him and Gina, the secretary over there, they allowed me to spread my wings and get more time with my family.
And you have a bunch of people that have really been actively trying to recruit you. Not that your boss probably wants to hear that, but
yeah,
you've had a lot of people try to recruit you, and you've kind of came back to the same thing to me, like, man, I really have it good here.
Yeah.
I have a fair split. They have a great system that I'm comfortable and good in. And sometimes, people can dangle these carrots in front of your face, and you go chase them down, and you end up in just, a bad place in a sense of business.
Yeah. I was talking with Trevor about that earlier. I was getting so stressed and anxious, and every minor curveball I was facing on a daily basis. And the curveballs come. The appraisals come in low sometimes. They find mold in the basement in the inspection. Like, the rates go up. Like, these things happen. I mean, I'm usually okay. But when I was having conversations with these people, it was making me feel really anxious and angry anytime those slight struggles would happen. And over the course of the last few months, I've been just focused on being grateful for everything I have and where I'm at.
Yeah, you're
how far I've come. And
yeah, you seem to be in a good spot. And You're happy at home, and
yeah,
good for you, dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. I think it's a great story. The wrestling community is huge.
Yeah.
It's great to have a guy like you, someone who's giving back to the community, donating their time. And again, parents, you gotta get easy on a guy like this. They're so busy, and they could be doing so much more to make more money and spending time with their own family.
Yeah.
To go commit their time. I think about myself, and maybe I'll continue to mature, but I think about dealing with parents. I'll tell somebody off real quick. Like, I'm out here coaching your fucking kid,
Right.
And you're coming over here giving me a hard time. Leave. Just leave the court, So
I've had minimal arguments.
Of course.
I did get into a heated argument with somebody that I love the family, love the kid. We talked about it after the fact. The emotions were high.
Of course.
But my perspective is, like, this is their baby out there. So, like, of course they're asking, like, especially if they don't know wrestling at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, yeah, it's a lot of time. I do think these guys, they created something called wrestling mindset. And it's to focus on the mental aspect. You go 100% physical, no mental. And now you're out there bugging out on the mat. You're wondering why. They branched off specific to parents, where they have a whole playbook. Like, hey, you're not supposed to talk wrestling after they lost on the way home. Yeah. Don't bring up wrestling at the dinner table. Let the kid live. He wants to talk wrestling, then you can talk with him. But don't sit there and critique him for 2 hours because he just lost a match. Yeah. That's just one of the many examples that.
I didn't want to set you off, but you do a lot for your community. Like I said, I've personally sent you over some people. I'm lucky and blessed enough, to have the business that I do, and I'm able to dish out a lot of mortgage business. Awesome. And the people that you've been able to help me with recently are happy, and you've done a good job. So thank you with that as well.
Thank you, man.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.